Copy is very important, but less important than actually emailing.
One thing that I found very interesting about what you said is emailing is better than non-emailing. So that's one tip I'm going to remember, because I always try to be a perfectionist in everything before I launch, but I'm going to take your advice. But I'm wondering, what kind of techniques or strategies do you use? Do you email people? Like, I hear the rule is once a day. Is that too much, too little? Like, depending on the market, what do you find is, I guess, best practices for somebody starting or trying to nurture a list?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you kind of can decide. Yeah, if you're starting out, you can kind of decide. The biggest thing is what's actually sustainable for you, because that's more important. You can always add or subtract, but it's always easier to add if you find that you have the margin for that. So that's what we're starting at. Obviously, if you're hiring someone out, then it's a little different. I find that gurus can get away with emailing more,
Okay.
typically, because it's a bit more personable. Whereas a lot of a lot of e-commerce companies don't send out daily emails because people with I can do about 4-ish emails a week unless we have a promotion over a few days where I can do more. And otherwise I'll start to see subsequent drop-offs on engagement. So basically you essentially will start to, if you can see your numbers start going down across the board. And that means that you're not necessarily actually engaging with more people. They're just splitting themselves over the more opportunities.
Okay. So they're opening less of your emails. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, like, if you have, say you go to X amount of, if you increase by 2 emails,
yeah,
and then you notice down the road, you probably won't see the change immediately, but if you notice like 2 or 3 weeks down, oh, my overall open rates are lower than they used to be, there's no guarantee that you're actually collecting a bunch of new opens.
Okay. Just because you're emailing more doesn't mean that people are going to be opening and reading it more, basically.
Yeah, it doesn't guarantee that they are. It can, but I've worked with so many smaller businesses and medium businesses that don't have the resources, that don't have the brand, like the solid brand in place.
Yeah.
To where I don't preach a daily email, because I know it's not actually beneficial for them.
Oh, wow.
They're better off allocating their resources for something else. But it's really funny when we operate, like, I know the people that you've interviewed, they operate like the people that they operate with is very different. So like, if you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever on ads, if your lead gen is that high, well, yeah, you can email people every day because your leads are massive.
Yeah.
So you're just that's the name of the game. But if you're a small business and you're not bringing in all of these types of leads, you have to be a bit more conscientious. Email, like a healthy email list will have about a 33% attrition rate in any given year. A healthy one will go down by 30.
That's huge.
Like a poorly maintained one will go down by 60% or more. So churn is huge to begin with. If you're a smaller business and you don't have all these other brand infrastructures in place, you can damage it. Like, it won't be beneficial to do that.
Okay. Well, I'm happy that you say that.
If you've got a big business and you're churning in all these people, then heck yeah, like, you can email more than once a day probably, and you'll be fine because your numbers are huge. But this is a pet peeve of mine, but like, email it's not one size fits all, because no business is the same.
Would you say once a week is not enough? Is there, like, if somebody's just starting, like, for example, let's say I came to you and I said, Brennan, I have a list of 5,000-6,000 emails, B2B. What do we do? What would be your first inclination? Once a week, twice a week, or?
Oh, no, I would shoot for probably 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. That would be a good
but
starting point.
The thing is it depends on what you have in place. Like, what does your business look like structure wise? What can we, in my mind, you can email as often as you have something legitimate to talk about.
Okay.
That's so if you and I sit down and we're like, whoa, we could legitimately tell them three different times a week, we could talk to them about these things. That's a great place to start. And then you just see what happens.
Okay.
Like,
well,
that's the beauty of email, is it's trackable.
Yeah.
I love this about that, is it's trackable. So you just do that thing for a few weeks, and then you take a step back and you go, how is this going?
Hope you found today's session valuable. If you have any questions for me or just want to connect, please feel free to visit my website, mariasparagis.com. That's MariaSparagis.com. I'd love to hear what you're working on, so drop me a line on any hot button issues your business is experiencing. And remember, don't worry about failure. You only have to be right once.